Okay, so study unit 4, and the topic is project management. So I'll just take you through the introduction. And so project management is very essential to software engineering, as projects should be. May I just ask that all of you have your mics muted because it's actually causing noise. I'm hearing feedback from somebody's mic. Okay, so project management is very essential to software engineering, as projects should be developed within budget, time, and meeting users' needs. Several tasks to be done by project managers are also discussed in detail. Risk management is discussed in detail, and 3 main types of risks which may be encountered during project management. Finally, managing people, that is, team members as well as individuals involved in a given project, is discussed at a greater level. So we will be covering the following learning outcomes: demonstrates detailed knowledge of the tasks of software project managers, demonstrates an understanding of the area of study, risk management, and be able to analyze some risks which might arise during software projects, demonstrates an ability to analyze and evaluate various factors which influence personal motivation and the impact of personal motivation to project managers. And the last one is demonstrate an ability to analyze, apply, and evaluate key issues which can influence team working, such as team composition, organization, and communication. Okay, so what is a project? So we say a project is a planned undertaking that has a beginning and an end, which produces a unique product or service. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing the project. Okay, it's constrained by time, cost, and scope. The project manager is the person responsible for the project. So time, cost, and scope is known as the project triangle, because those are the key factors. And they stress the importance of having a project manager there, because everything has to be within the bounds of those 3 factors. So then the project manager, which is the person who is responsible for coordinating the project. And they say that this project manager is responsible for selecting team members to work with. Okay, so human resource management is one of the things they're going to be doing. Then also communication with stakeholders, bringing everybody into the same room, whether it's internal stakeholders or external stakeholders, okay? So communication is one of the communication management as well, reporting project progress, scheduling of tasks, working within the budget. I just want to move on to the next slide because specifically it talks about in terms of software project management. Remember that project management is a very generic discipline, okay? And we can apply it to multiple industries, engineering, wherever you're going to be doing a project, we can apply the same principles. So in terms of software project management, we just take those principles and we adjust it, okay? We still use the same tools and techniques, but obviously there are additional ones for software, tailored specifically for software projects, but we're not going to dwell too deep into that. So here I was discussing software project management, and project management is needed because software development is always subject to budget and schedule constraints that are set by organization developing the software. So if you just do it in a manner that's not coordinated, you may find yourself out of money and out of time and stuff like that. So it's concerned with activities involved in ensuring that software is delivered on time and on schedule and in accordance within the requirements of organizations developing and procuring the software. Okay, so most importantly, you do not compromise those requirements. So the whole concept of management is essentially getting things done through people. So these are some of the management activities that we have, and people management. Project managers have to choose people for their team and establish ways of working that leads to effective team performance. Okay, so one of the roles of a project manager, obviously, as we highlighted earlier, is selecting team members, and you need to select the right people. Okay, strike a balance between the skill and the personality and so forth. Okay, so that's what you do: select the right people that you can work with. And also, when you're going to start any project, you have to start at the proposal stage. Okay, so whenever you're going to do a project for a customer, you need to draft a proposal on how you plan on executing the project, who's going to be part of the project team, and what is your approach, your overall approach. Are you being adaptive or predictive and stuff like that? So that's the importance of a proposal, and that's one of the management activities is drafting proposals. And then also project planning. So project planning in terms of assigning tasks to the project team, okay? Also known as scheduling. And there are different tools in which you can use to do this, which is we may have heard of the work breakdown structure and the Gantt chart. Also drafting reports, and you are reporting. Remember, you're constantly communicating. As we said in the earlier slide, you're constantly communicating with stakeholders, and you don't do this through giving them a screenshot of your code, because sometimes it will not make sense to people. In actual fact, it won't make sense to people that do not understand programming or not IT experts. So reporting is done in terms of reports, okay? Something visual, something in a tabular format, and it could be just updating the stakeholders on the progress of the project. So project managers are usually responsible for reporting on the progress of a project to customers and to the managers of the company developing the software. And then also we have risk management. So project managers assess the risks they may affect a project, monitor these risks, and take action when problems arise, okay? So on that note, so what is this risk management? It's concerned with identifying risks and drawing up plans to minimize their effect on the project. There's always going to be unpredictable or circumstances that you're going to face, okay? And all you can do is draft a scenario and a plan and a mitigating solution to that when that particular scenario occurs. So risk will always be there. Sometimes we can sort of preempt it, sometimes we cannot. And these are the main categories of this risk. We have project risks, we have product risks, and then we also have business risks. When it comes to project risks, it's a risk that has an impact on schedule or resources, okay? However, I just want you guys to note that risk might not always be negative, okay? Sometimes it may have a positive impact on the project. But when we are doing risk management in terms of project management, we always plan for the adverse effects, okay? So we say there's project risks which affect the schedule or resources assigned to a project. Then we have product risks, which we're looking at what kind of risks would compromise quality or performance of the software that's been developed, okay? And then we have business risks, which affect the organization developing or procuring the software, okay? And the table that follows basically gives us an example of some of the risks that fall under these categories. If you're looking at staff turnover, okay? Experienced staff will leave the project before it is finished. Something like that, you can imagine that you just lost your most experienced developer. That would have, obviously you can replace them. You can replace them, but how much time is it going to take for you to replace them? So it's a project related risk because it's affecting your schedule, your time, and also the resources you have assigned to this project. Okay. And then also we have management change. There will be a change of organizational management with different priorities. You restructuring, that is just going to delay. Remember now you're changing, you could be even changing the overall project team with new management, okay? So that has an impact on the project, okay, in terms of schedule and resources. Hardware unavailability. So there's no hardware in the market that you would have liked to purchase as part of this particular software, or maybe the supplier is out of stock and they're still going to order more stock. And as you wait, it's going to affect your schedule. Okay, hence it falls under project risk. So hardware that is essential for the project will not be delivered on schedule. Then what happens when the requirements change? Okay, when requirements change, obviously, if the person is adding more requirements, then we can definitely say that can affect, or we can categorize it as both a project and a product risk. Okay, there will be a larger number of changes to be made to the requirements than anticipated. So in terms of project, it's going to take you longer because it's going to increase the scope if they add more. In terms of product, remember the more changes you make, although agility allows for you to make iterations and make changes, but the more changes you make, the more the software tends to lose its structure if it's not managed well. So this is definitely both project and product risk. And specification delays, specifications of essential interfaces are not available on schedule. Okay, maybe there was a problem with gathering some of the stakeholders that you needed to interview or give questionnaires, and you didn't get those feedbacks on time. So that will cause a time issue in terms of projects. And then obviously there may be pressure to sort of start the project without that particular data, and it ends up compromising the product as well. Then we also have size underestimate, and this is also categorized as both a project and a product risk. They say the size of the system has been underestimated, and you later on discover in the project that you underestimated it. Now you have to go back and review and add additional things or add additional features, which obviously would also increase the scope. And in terms of the products from scratch, if you did a size underestimate, you compromise the quality already, okay? Because there's certain things that you should have included that you didn't include. And then we also have case tool underperformance. And this is specific to the product. Remember, case tools are used to help us with the design of the software. So if we don't have an efficient case tool, then we cannot design the software properly. And we're going to have to revert to the manual ways of designing. And for very complex, large projects, it could be unsustainable. And certain things may be omitted that should be there. So that is a compromise on the product, and it's a product risk. Then we have the last two, which is business risks. So we have a technology change. The underlying technology on which the system is built is superseded by new technology. That can affect us as if, let's say, we are the company that's developing the software for another company, and the technology changes. Obviously, we need to acquire that new technology, okay? So that we give the customer a product that's in line with what's being done in the industry, and we also need to change. So that's why that will be a business risk. And product competition, a competitive product is marketed before the system is completed, okay? So we find that our competitors are already marketing, already have a new fancy new system out there in the market, and ours is not completed yet. That's a business risk for us. and we may need to end up investing additional resources into the project for us to be able to catch up with our competitors, okay? Because we don't want them having a head start. So these are some of the examples that are linked to all of these categories of these three categories of risk. And then we also have the risk management process, which involves risk identification. Okay, so you list all the possible risks, and then you analyze which ones have a larger impact on the project. Remember that the impact, or that actually falls under the last step, which is risk assessment. But we have risk analysis, you prioritize your risk, which ones have a greater impact, and then risk planning. So what contingency plans do you have? If a team member falls sick, what is the strategy that we take to replace that person? Okay, so there has to be something in there that's it's a contingency plan. So when that particular, all of the risks we can predict, when they occur, there has to be some sort of contingency. And then in terms of the assessment, we need to put a figure behind it, the impact of the risk. And we say we do a qualitative or quantitative analysis. And qualitative analysis is basically, in words, what is the impact of this? If this occurs, what is its impact on the project? But when we're quantifying it, we're putting a number to it, and we say, if this risk occurs, then we stand to lose this much of amount of money. Okay, so this is a typical process that you would follow. Okay, moving on to the next concept, which is managing people. People are an organization's most important asset. We can agree that without people in the organization, nothing will work. The tasks of a manager are essentially people-orientated. Unless there's some understanding of people, management will be unsuccessful. Poor people management is an important contributor to project failure. So even within projects, the project manager, we said, is managing people, is getting things done through people. And if you have poor people management, then definitely that the project is going to fail, okay? Because there's definitely going to be tensions between the person who's managing the project and the people that are part of the project. So it brings us to our next topic, and the project manager needs to know how to motivate project team members. That's why when you're a project manager, you sort of have to be a jack of all trades, okay? Project management is a very diverse discipline, and you need to be able to be open to understanding all of these different dynamics. This concept of motivating people, managing people, that's an HR process, okay? So if you have a project manager and the person is, obviously, if you're doing a software project, then you're going to get a project manager that understands software development. And there are project managers out there who are trained in terms of software. And so motivating people, though, is something that is more HR based. Even if you have a background in, you are an IT person and you have a certificate in project management, but managing people is something a bit sort of bizarre for you, so to say. And it's an important role of a manager is to motivate the people working on a project. Motivation means organizing the work and working environment to encourage people to work effectively. It doesn't mean just because this is not your domain as a project manager that you cannot make it happen. So it's your role to facilitate the communication with the stakeholders, because if you feel like, obviously your hands are tied, you're not HR, so you're not involved in stuff like, let me increase the people's salaries and stuff like that. But you, as the project manager, and you communicating with the different stakeholders, which HR would be one of the stakeholders in this particular case, then you can make it happen through your motivation, okay? And so motivation means organizing the work and the working environment to encourage people to work effectively. If people are not motivated, they will not be interested in the work they are doing. They will work slowly, be more likely to make mistakes, and not contribute to the broader goals of the team or the organization, okay? So motivation is a complex issue. But it appears that there are different types of motivations based on basic needs, personal needs, and social needs. So there are tools out there. Obviously, those tools are in HR textbooks. You may not know them fully, but this is one of them that you study in this software engineering, which is Maslow's needs hierarchy. Okay, so this is one of the tools that which we use to as a framework to guide us to motivate people. We say um, there's basic needs that need to be satisfied, then the psychological needs, then the self-fulfillment needs. Okay, so I also look at it in terms of needs and wants because it moves from what people actually need to survive. If you look at the bottom of this triangle, okay, stuff like food, those are basic needs: food, water, warmth, and rest. You can't expect someone to be motivated to work on your software project if these are not satisfied, okay? Then you can go a level higher. Does the person have security? Okay, does the person have security? Does the person have safety? Do they have shelter? If those needs are not satisfied, then the motivation also drops. Intimate relationships with friends and stuff like that. So in terms of relationships, how are the bonds with people around them? Okay, if someone is distracted psychologically, it impacts on what they do on a daily basis. Okay, and esteem. Okay, personal things, feeling, and are you feeling accomplished? Okay, are you satisfied with your personal goals? And then at the very top, we have self actualization, where a person has achieved their full potential or full purpose, so they feel satisfied with what their personal achievements. Okay, and that is the highest level of motivation that you can get. So you need to strive as a project leader to get people at the highest level where they start to feel like their own personal needs are fulfilled before you can expect them to be motivated to work on a project which is for someone else. Okay, basically that's what this is saying. Teamwork, most software engineering is a group activity, as we know, with extreme programming practices, with pair programming and stuff like that. So the development schedule for most non-trivial software projects is such that they cannot be completed by one person working alone. A group, a good group is a cohesive and has a team spirit. The people involved are motivated by the success of the group as well as their own personal goals. Okay, so people are motivated by what they want to personally achieve, and also as being part of a group and the overall goals that govern the group. Okay, so group interaction is key determinant of group's performance. Flexibility in group composition is limited. Managers must do the best they can with available people. Okay, you're gonna have people falling sick, people going on leave and stuff like that as part of the group. So you need to find a way to balance that stuff. And how do you achieve group cohesiveness? So in a cohesive group, members consider the group to be more important than any individual in it. The advantages of a cohesive group is that you yield quality standards, okay? Because everybody understands you don't put yourself first, you put the group first, okay? It doesn't mean that if you're on your deathbed and now you have to go to work and work on the project, no. But take into consideration playing your role and doing your part up to the T. You are not doing it for yourself, remember, so you can't do it sloppy. You're doing it for the team. Team members learn from each other and get to know each other's work. Inhibitions caused by ignorance are reduced, so people get to discuss specifications and stuff like that. Refer to if you like understanding, which is good. So knowledge is shared. Continuity can be maintained if a group members leave, and refactoring and continual improvement is encouraged. Group members work collectively to deliver high quality results and fix problems. So the main thing here is that you need a cohesive group, so everybody is on the same page. People can help each other in terms of communication and sharing of knowledge. And there's also refactoring, where people can look at each other's code and fix the problems while it's still early. So what do you look for when you're selecting group members? A manager or team leader's job is to create a cohesive group and organize their group so that they can work together effectively. This involves creating a group with the right balance of technical skills and personalities and organizing that group so that the members work together effectively. So you don't only look at how good this person is in terms of coding, all the technical skills, but what is a personality like? Because they're in a group. If the person is reserved and doesn't know how to communicate well, or they shout at people all the time, then that's a personality trait that could ultimately collapse the group and have an impact on the project. So those are some of the things that you need to strike a balance between technical skills, their knowledge, and the personalities, the people's personalities. Okay, so that's in conclusion. A project must be developed within a budget, within the scheduled time, and it should meet the user's requirements. Risk management is a crucial activity, which needs to be closely monitored by the project manager. And there are several stages involved in the risk management process, which are namely risk identification, risk analysis, risk planning, and risk monitoring. Okay, so that is study unit 4, software project management. So I'll provide you guys with an opportunity to ask questions. I see your hand is still up, Eugene. Is that from the earlier question you had, or is it a new question?
Hi, sir. It's a new question, sir.